Whenever we imagine Parliament, we know that it is the forum of deliberation. That means the representatives that we are voting for will be speaking for us, will be voting on demand for grants, and will be discussing where is the money going. But when we are talking about this forum of deliberation, yes, it is true on paper, this is how it runs, but when you see in reality, in practicality, it also runs on deadlines. And when these deadlines are met with constant delay and protest, there is a device to stop all this and put everything to vote. That device is swift yet controversial, and that device is Guillotine. That is the paradox of Guillotine, that the members who are there to discuss, they don't get to do so, and that is what exactly has been threatened yet again. If the opposition does not stop with its protest and let the proceeding of the House continue, then Guillotine will be used yet again. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand this particular word Guillotine. What is this device, how it is used, where it is placed, why is it an important tool, yet it is seen as a threat to democracy, and also understand that what makes 9th of March a very important day in the budget session of the Parliament. So let us begin with understanding this term itself, that what exactly is Guillotine. Now when we are talking about Guillotine, you have to understand that this is a parliamentary procedure. This procedure, what it does, it puts all demand of grants to vote at once without any discussion. Now when we are talking about this procedure, because there is no discussion at all, and this is activated only in the last day of the budget session. So this is something that is used because of the deadline which is present, but because there is no option of discussion and all demand of grants are put to vote, this particular procedure becomes controversial in itself. Because if the member of parliaments, who are the representatives of the whole nation, they don't get to speak on, decide on and tell what is right and wrong with the demand of grants, then what is the purpose of this representative democracy? Now, Guillotine is a device which is used only during budget process, and it ensures that the financial business is completed within the constitutional timeline that is set. And this is done so as to ensure that if we are talking about the starting of new financial year, April 1, then the government has all of these demand of grants fulfilled, appropriation acts out, financial acts done, and they can start using the money. This is something that is applicable only to Lok Sabha. Now you might have a question that if this is a parliamentary procedure, then what is this image doing here? This image is to show you that where does this term come from. The term Guillotine, which is this particular device which is used for prosecution, is coming from French Revolution. And this execution device, which symbolizes swift action, irreversibility and finality, this is the exact procedure where we get to see. Such a term is used for the procedure that it reflects sudden termination of debate. That means it is final, it is irreversible, and it is swift. Now when we are talking about Guillotine as a device, it has been adopted into parliamentary vocabulary by Westminster system, and there are multiple countries which use this parliamentary procedure. Can you tell me in the comment section which are the countries apart from India which uses Guillotine as a parliamentary procedure? Now that we have understood what exactly is Guillotine, now let us move to understand that where it is placed in our budget process. I have already covered the whole budget process in very much detail in a video. You can go and watch that, but we will be briefly covering it again so as to understand that where it is placed. So when we are talking about the whole budget process, an important article here is that Article 114 that talks about appropriation bill, and Article 265 which talks about no tax without authority of law. Both of them lay a simple emphasis that government cannot spend or government cannot tax without parliamentary approval. If this approval is missing, the government becomes defunct. They do not have any money and they cannot get any money either to pay salaries or to get taxes from the public. So, if we do not want this situation in front of us on April 1, once the financial year begins, what we have to do, that the budget has to be passed before the start of new financial year and the process has to be completed in the given time. Now, why the process can be delayed? Either the discussion is taking long or the processes are not being followed or the proceedings are not happening at all. In that context, the process might be delayed. But to put an end to the process, there are procedural devices which are present, just like guillotine. So, in this context, we understand why guillotine is required. When we are looking at the budgetary process, which starts with budget presentation, when the budget is presented in Lok Sabha and now it is being done on February 1st, so as to ensure that we don't have to be dependent on vote on accounts. Now, after the budget presentation, general discussion takes place in which the focus is on broad policy debate, no demand of grants are discussed and no voting takes place. After that, the parliament session is adjourned and committee scrutiny starts. All the parliamentary standing committees examine the demands that have been placed and the demands have been placed ministry wise, and the review also takes ministry wise itself. Once the committee scrutiny is completed, because this is a very important stage where the expertise and legal aspect is considered, this is the actual scrutiny taking place here. Then we get to see voting on demands happening. Next stage is voting on demand of grants. When we are talking about this stage, ministry-wise discussions take place, and if the members of parliament want, they can move cut motions. Now, broadly, we have three types of cut motions. We have economy cut motion, we have policy cut motion, and we have token cut motion. Token cut motion is where the amount of demand of grant is reduced by rupees 100. Let's just say they were demanding 1000 rupees, we have reduced it by 100, we are giving 900, so as to ensure that certain grievance is present that needs to be addressed. When we are talking about economy cut motion, this is the place where the cut is placed by a specified amount. They were asking for 10,000, we have cut 5,000 because we don't feel that it is MPs don't feel that it is being spent the right way. And when we are talking about policy cut motion, we get to see here the demand of grant is brought down to rupee 1. That means MPs are not satisfied with this particular demand of grant. So, cut motions are brought in and this is something that continues. But if we want to end it, once the discussions have taken place, there is a provision for closure motions. Let's just say the discussion is not complete. What do we do in that scenario? So, this is where guillotine comes into the picture. Whatever demands are left, the discussion is not going to take place, no discussion at all. Directly voting will be focused upon. So, once the voting is done, that is when we get to see appropriation bill coming into the picture and finance bill coming into the picture. Now, when we are talking about guillotine, this is specifically very closely related to closure motions as well. So, we will be talking about that also so that we have a fair clarity on this. So, when we are talking about closure motion, there can be a simple closure in a place where one debate is ending immediately. There can be a provision for kangaroo closure motion as well, where select amendments will be discussed, rest of them the debate has ended. Then there can be compartmental closures as well, so that the demand of grants are placed into certain compartments and debate will be ended section wise. But when none of these are suiting the timeline, what we go for? We go for the guillotine closure motion. This is a type of closure motion, but it is not a classic one because it is a bigger procedural tool. That means it ends discussions of all kind on multiple demand of grants at once. And applies, and this is applicable only to the budget process. Now that we have understood this procedural device, now let us talk about what has happened. Now, because there has been protest by opposition during the budget session, as of now, which will be resuming on March 9, it is expected that there will be further delay in terms of discussion. So that is why another MP, Kiren Rijiju, has threatened that if you are not on the table, opposition is not on the table to discuss, we might have to go for the guillotine motion. But in this context, yes, it is a procedural device. Yes, it is available to be used for the parliamentary procedure and ensuring the timeline. But when we are talking about representation, and representation will not be there, then it threats the democracy as well. So this is where we need to go beyond just the concept that what exactly is guillotine, and understand that why it exists and what are the consequences of its existence. So when we are talking about this procedural device, it has been placed so as to ensure that Parliament, which has limited sitting days, and in that sitting days, budget includes more than 100 plus demands. So how will that be addressed? So if at all anything is left, that can be addressed through this particular tool. There are also fiscal reasons. As I said, that government has to have the spending authority by the Parliament before April 1. If at all there is a delay, salaries of 1,000 lakhs of government employees, welfare schemes which are running, and also administration will be in a paralysis situation. And because this should not be there, there should be proper legislative certainty, guillotine is present. But at the same time, when we are talking about guillotine being present, it cannot be a threat. It cannot be a threat to the working of democracy, because representatives, if they feel that government is not going right, the opposition has the right to demonstrate, to protest, and to bring their grievances to the table. Especially in a scenario when no confidence motion is running against Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, this becomes all the more critical, because if the representatives will not get to say their piece, will not get to put the discussions on the table, then the whole idea of representative democracy seems to be failing. So in this context, it is very important for us to understand how it is to be seen as a tool, which we have understood why it is existing, but how it can be a threat as well. It can be a threat clearly because it reduces the scrutiny of ministries which should be present, which should be discussed. Furthermore, it directly weakens the legislative oversight, which is very important for the balance of the functioning of three organs in our democracy. And once we see that there is weakening of legislative oversight, what we will see that there is dominance of executive organ. And that is why the government saying that they will go for the guillotine is seen as a threat not to the opposition but to the representative democracy that we are talking about. Now, when we are talking about the political reality of this situation, it is rarely used, limited use is seen in Lok Sabha, but it is more likely when there is a deadlock, it is more likely during election season politics and also opposition protests. So at this time when we are seeing heavy opposition protests on multiple issues, this is a likely situation, but the problem is it has a lot of downsides which opposition, which public and government also needs to consider. Now, in all of this context, March 9 is highly awaited because when we are talking about guillotine or the no confidence motion which is pending on our Lok Sabha Speaker, both will be beginning. And that is when March 9 will be the place where we will be to see that, okay, will the discussion take place, or if the protests go on, we will be seeing use of this particular device. So on the political context, yes, there is a lot which is dependent on March 9, but on the constitutional dimension, we get to see the presence of no confidence motion against Speaker. As of now, till date, there has been no Speaker who has been impeached through no confidence motion. However, this will be a start of second phase of budget session as well. So there is a lot which is dependent on March 9, not just politically but constitutionally as well. Whatever unfolds, we will be discussing that as well, which will be important for the perspective of exam. Now on this note, I'll be leaving you here with a practice question. You can put down the answer in the comment section. I'm sure you know the answer because we have discussed this during the session. So that was all from my side. Thank you so much.